Hey everybody. So we just talked about the Nashville bringing Brian Boyle in trade. Nashville's not done yet. They have brought in another fourth line guy, continuing to add depth and grit for a deep playoff run. Nashville has brought back Cody McLeod, who was on the team when they went to the Stanley Cup final in 2017, from the New York Rangers for a 7th round pick in the 2020 draft. So Nashville continues to add a veteran, gritty, fourth line player. McLeod's not a guy who will necessarily be in the lineup every night. Boyle, I think, will have a spot in the lineup every night. McLeod is much more of a depth guy. He is a fighter. He's a pure fighter. He'll drop the gloves with anyone. But again, adding grit, adding depth up front, this is exactly what you need to do if you're a playoff team heading into the playoffs. And Cody McLeod has been in Nashville before, and he was part of a very good team in Nashville there. And Nashville's still a very good team, and he's going back. And for anyone who thinks that players like Cody McLeod don't add any value to a team or anything, you're just completely wrong. Why would a grade A NHL team like Nashville be adding this guy if he doesn't help the team at all? It's completely asinine to think that guys like Cody McLeod aren't useful players anymore and that they're not valuable guys. He's physical, he's big, he'll fight anybody. He's been around the league for a long time. He has everyone on his team's back, and he's a great guy to have in the lineup. If you're in a particularly physical playoff series against a team like, say, Winnipeg or Calgary or someone like that. So, again, I think this is a great move by Nashville. They really didn't. A 7th round pick, that's nothing. They basically gave up nothing, and they add another depth forward, another physical, gritty forward who can help the team in physical playoff hockey. And this once again, this makes me think that Austin Watson may not be back anytime soon, because Nashville seems to be loading up on these depth forwards and gritty depth forwards that you lose, that is out of the lineup now with Austin Watson being out of the lineup. So McLeod is a guy who, again, probably won't be in the lineup on a nightly basis, but can be inserted into the lineup if need be against particular teams who might play a physical style of hockey. Nashville certainly plays a physical game themselves, and I think he's a guy that is very well liked in Nashville, and will certainly add to the team when he is in the lineup. We're seeing Nashville, who is a perennial Stanley Cup contender at this point. For the last, they went to the Stanley Cup final in 2017. They made it to the second round before losing to Winnipeg last year. They're gearing up for another potential Stanley Cup run this year. And what kind of players are we seeing them add? We're seeing them add fourth line, gritty, veteran players. And this is how you gear up for a Stanley Cup run. These are the kind of moves that a team like Toronto should be making. Toronto has no grit. Jake Muzzin, they've added Jake Muzzin, and Nazem Kadri can play that way a little bit if he needs to. But as a whole, compared to the rest of the league, Toronto is one of the softest teams in the league. They should be making moves like this. These are the kind of players that Toronto should be adding heading into the playoffs. And if they're going to continue to lose in the first round, maybe the second round if they can score enough goals in the first to win a round, but they're not going anywhere near the Stanley Cup final until they add some grit to that lineup. And anyone who doesn't think that grit or physicality is important to have in the NHL playoffs doesn't understand the NHL playoffs at all. Every single check is finished in the playoffs. It is the playoffs are 1,000 times more physical than anything in the regular season. It's not even close. The playoffs are so much more physical than the regular season. And it has nothing to do with fighting. It has everything to do with physicality, hitting, grinding along the wall, going to the front of the net. There's a lot less, there's a lot less fighting in the playoffs than in the regular season, but there's a lot more physicality, and you have to have players that can play that way to go deep into the playoffs. We see it year after year after year. You have to have guys that can play that way, and a team like Toronto, until they add that, is not going to go deep into the playoffs. Nashville, one of the premier franchises in the NHL right now, is gearing up for their playoff run by adding gritty fourth-line players. That shows you the importance of these type of guys going in the postseason and going into the playoffs. And with Austin Watson out of the lineup, there goes not only someone who can chip in goals offensively as a third liner, there goes probably your biggest hitter and definitely your biggest fighter. So what do? They add in Brian Boyle, who's 6'6", big center, real physical player. And then you add Cody McLeod, who's one of the last fighters left in the NHL. Nashville knows what they're doing. They know what it takes to win in the playoffs. They've been winning in the playoffs for a number of years now, and they're gearing up for another run. This is another great move by the Predators. They really don't give anything up. They get another depth forward, and they have a team that is certainly plenty tough enough to go deep into the playoffs. They have a great defense. They have a grade A goaltender in Pekka Rinne. They've got some great goal scorers in Victor Arvidsson and Philip Forsberg. Nashville is a dangerous, dangerous team heading into the postseason this year, and I would look to them. I would look to them to blow through the first round, and then I think it's going to be Nashville and Winnipeg in the second round again, and those are two of the best teams in the league. You're going to have a huge, huge series between Nashville and Winnipeg in the second round again, and the winner of that series, I think, is going to have a very strong chance of going to the Stanley Cup final. So, Nashville not done making moves. They add Cody McLeod from the Rangers. McLeod going back to a winning team. The Rangers are done as far as this year is concerned. They're not going to the playoffs. They're a rebuilding team, so they get rid of a veteran guy like McLeod. And McLeod, I think, will be welcomed with open arms back in Nashville. And while he may not play a whole lot, he's going to be a guy that's good to have on the roster in case you need him. And that, I think, is a great move for the Predators. So, with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.